Welcome to WizeUp. I'm Paul Arthur. Looking forward to the conversation today. Going to talk about God and what Canada is doing with God. I mean, what do we think about God? Well, really interesting survey that came out just recently. It's a Leger survey done for the Association for Canadian Studies, and it reveals that Canadians are less likely than our American counterparts to see religion as a social good. Now, just over a third of Canadians, I think it was like 34%, something like that, agreed that religion has a positive influence on societal values, as compared to 53% of our neighbors south of the border here. So, that's a little depressing, right? But is God moving in our nation anyhow? Is something going on? Maybe we're not even aware of it, all right? So before we jump into that, quick reminder to hit subscribe, tell your friends about us as well. Joining us to discuss this is Samuel Robinson. He's the founder of Voice of Revival Ministries, and you can check out their website, voiceofrevival.ca. And Samuel, good to have you with us.
Paul, it's so good to be here. It's been a minute, my friend. It's good to be back. I love this.
Absolutely. It's been too long. So you've been a pretty busy fellow since the last time we talked, that's for sure. When you see surveys like this, right, they can get us kind of downcast. But is God on the move in Canada? Well, I've certainly seen and heard a lot of good things recently. That God is on the move in Canada. Any thoughts on what you've observed so far?
Absolutely, Paul. And I want to encourage, those that are watching that, have a faith background here today. God is on the move, and we're seeing some incredible things take place. With our ministry, Paul, it is an itinerant ministry. So we go to a local church, my wife and I, but we have the privilege of serving the greater body of Christ across Canada. And so we get to go to different, amazing churches across the nation and seeing God move. And I want to say this right now. I believe we are actually in one of the greatest seasons of awakening in our country. And I believe those statistics are going to change, just like we've seen in the States. We're going to see it go up. And here's what I'm noticing is that there is a hunger, especially in the next generation, for truth. What we're finding is that the next generation, even in our meetings, Paul, I would say, maybe in the last couple of years, we've seen a decline of young people coming to services and coming to church services. And I think we could all say that's been a little concerning and wondering, how do we, actually see that next generation coming in to the faith and seeing them coming into church and coming into an awareness of who God is. But something has shifted. Something shifted, especially in the last couple of months. There has been a greater awareness of young people coming into services. I think in the last, 3 weeks ago, Paul, I was in the beautiful Saskatchewan, and I was speaking in a small town in Saskatchewan, and I would say there was maybe, Paul, about 200 people in the service. But here's the fascinating part. I would say 75 people out of the 200 were under the age of 30. And it kind of shocked me. And what I started to see, Paul, in the last couple of months, there has been this growing uptick of young people looking to find out, is God real? Does he have a plan for my life? And we're seeing salvations taking place. And so in that meeting in Saskatchewan, where we had about 75 young people, I would say 50 of them, Paul, gave their lives to Jesus.
Wow.
First time decisions for Jesus.
That's incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And here's what I asked. I said, what brought you to church? I think this is a good question to ask, is what brought you here? And it's incredible. I said, did the marketing, was it marketing? Was it friends? They said, honestly, we're looking at the status of society today. And they're saying this to me. They're saying there has to be hope, Paul. There has to be hope. Where is the hope? And so many of them are coming to churches in this season looking for that question to be answered. Is the church a place of hope? Is this a place where I can find hope? And we know this. We serve the God of hope. And I believe that we're going to see a massive uptick of the next generation coming, because we're starting to see it more and more. And even I just got back from New Brunswick, and we just had a powerful time in New Brunswick. The church was completely filled with hungry believers from all over the Maritimes, and we were seeing God move. There was miracles, again, salvations that are taking place. And so I want to encourage people that are watching or listening. Listen, this is a time where I believe God is moving in our nation. He hasn't forgotten about Canada. And I know, I get it. I get it. We can sometimes look in maybe our own surrounding and wonder, okay, God, are you moving? But I want to tell you today, at the bigger picture, I believe we're at the beginning stages of a move of the Spirit, and it's absolutely incredible. You know, we were sharing this just before, Paul, we just got back from an event called Alberta Ablaze. This was, the beginning of September, and in a small town called Drayton Valley. I don't know what it is, Paul. I think God loves the small towns. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. Me and my family reside here, but there's something that God is doing in these beautiful towns all across the nation. And there we were. The town, I think, is 7,200 people, and there was 2 night services with our friends Steve and Cara Holmstrom, and I was working with them, and we had Dr. Rodney Howard-Brown with us. And I got to tell you something, Paul. We saw per night over 6,000 hungry Canadians from across the nation coming to, for probably a good portion of them, a place that they had never heard of before.
Yeah, these are just, it's just an open field.
Yes. This is not a stadium. This is not, this isn't, Rogers Place in Edmonton. This is an open field where hungry believers are coming. Like, I saw 1,000 people, Paul, with my own eyes, saying, I need to make a commitment to Jesus Christ on a field. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, God, if you could do this in Drayton Valley, Paul, could we believe he could do this anywhere? Could we believe wherever someone's watching for? I feel this stirring for some today. And I want to encourage you to please don't give up hope. I want to say this. The message of the gospel is still as powerful today as it was yesterday. And I believe that God is moving in our nation. I believe there's many today that are about to come into the kingdom. And Paul, I believe that, as the word says, do not despise the day of small beginnings. I believe we're in the moments, the beginnings. This isn't the fullness. We're in the beginnings of a move of the Spirit in Canada. And I believe our days in the midst of darkness, I believe there's a brightness that God is releasing in the church.
I agree with you. And again, don't lose hope. In fact, I want to steer people to, if you're around the Edmonton area and beyond that as well, because you can join this particular event that you're going to be part of here online as well. Your event is called WizeUp, October 23rd to 25th in Edmonton. And you can get registered online at voiceofrevival.ca. But you've got some great names coming here. Chris Valentin, from Bethel, of course, in California. Yes. He's their kind of prophetic voice there. Bill Prankard, most of us know him here in Canada. Banning Leapshire, he's dynamic, isn't he? And of course yourself, great worship as well. You've got Upper Room coming there, Tehillah worship as well. I mean, it's going to be rocking and rolling, right? I mean, this is good. So again, just go to voiceofrevival.ca to get yourself registered there. But and then bring people who need to meet the Lord, people who need healing. It's a good place to go for that.
Can I just say this too, Paul, real quick? Is I think the thing that has been amazing about this, and just to let everybody know, I think we only have a couple hundred more spots, Paul, and we have over 1,100 people already registered. And again, what does that show me? There's a hunger that is happening in our nation. I think the thing that touched me, we get messages from, to our ministry, every week. And with this conference, which is so cool, is we're seeing people that are literally, some of them are flying to be with us in Edmonton. We had one young guy, he's taking basically 2 buses to be down in Edmonton. And what it just shows me is the hunger level. Paul, there's a hunger level in the church where people are saying, I need to meet with God. And we know this, we can meet with God anywhere, but there's something that's happening though, where people are saying, I want to be here. I want to be in this place. I think as well, we have 160 pastors from across the nation coming together. And so it is going to be a fantastic time, and we can't wait.
Wow. Okay. 160 pastors as well. Yeah, that sounds good. Really does. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I believe that this is going to be an awesome time of encouragement and a refreshing. And I believe that with the words that are going to be released, they're going to speak into the lives of Canadians. But I'm also believing for words that are going to touch the nation.
Okay. Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, prophetic words, we need to not despise prophecy. We need to actually take it seriously, and speak over our nation. What we are to come into agreement with what God is saying about Canada. How does God see? Open our spiritual eyes, Lord. What are you seeing here in Canada? This is what the surveys are seeing. What are you seeing, God? And help us agree with you in how we're responding to what you're seeing here. Let us speak what you're speaking, Lord. Agree with you with your outlook here. And I think it's going to make a huge difference, rather than agreeing with the oh no, nothing good is happening here, right? No, there are many good things happening, and we want to get aboard that bus here for sure. Prayer is one of the keys to revival. Just recently was going over some of that with some of our kids. You go back to the Welsh revival or whatever. There's different revivals you can look at, and certainly that's the common denominator. It seems is that there's prayer that happens. There's a seeking of God, right? There's a humbling of oneself, right? I think we're all familiar with 2 Chronicles 7:14, right? But it begins with a humbling, isn't it? Right? And then praying, seeking God's face. We're turning from our wicked ways, acknowledging, we didn't quite measure up, right? And that when that process starts, it's then God hears from heaven, and he forgives, he heals the land. Does Canada need a healing? Yeah, I'd say so. So how do we get there from here? Well, let's start with a good dose of humility. And what I've noticed among young people here over the last year here is they're starting to pray. They're starting to have discussions amongst themselves without, an adult in the room saying, you guys should get together and you should, we're going to make you pray, or we're going to assign you to do this or whatever. It's voluntary, and they're crying out to God. I like it.
Yep. And Paul, I agree with you 100%. And I think part of this, Paul, if I could add to this, is that there's an awareness of responsibility in the next generation, where I think what's happened, and I've seen this in the past, is that sometimes, with the next generation and some of the messaging that's been sent, well, it's the older generation's fault, or it's this person's fault, or this person. And what starts to happen is we can start to pass the blame of the generation of what's going on in our societies today. And what I've found in this last season, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a huge unawareness that took place with the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Yes.
This happened. And I think what took place for many is that there was an awareness, wait a second, there's evil on the earth. Yeah. And if there's evil, we also know that there has to be good. But something else took place of, wait a second, what am I doing to contribute to what I'm living in today? I can't blame somebody else for the issues that I'm facing. And what I've seen in this last season, Paul, and it's been remarkable, is people are going, I need to take responsibility for my life. I need to pray. I can't live off the prayers of my parents. I can't live off the relationship of my pastor. I have to actually take the time and invest. And this is where, Paul, we're seeing things like Bible sales. We can track this over the last year. There's been a major increase. I think it's somewhere between 18 to 20% of Bible sales have gone up. We're seeing young people filling prayer meetings, even here in Canada, where people are going, I need to learn how to pray. I need to read the Bible. And I believe that is exactly what you said. It's the humility of realizing, wait a second, you know what? I need God. There's areas where we're weak. There's areas where, some areas where only God can fix. And this is where we need a move of God. And the other part is, what am I contributing? What is my responsibility for this? How can I take action? And I believe with that awareness, that's really the if I could say, the birthing place of hunger, Paul. If we can't humble ourselves, how can we be hungry? if we think we have, it's what Jesus spoke to the church of Laodicea in Revelation chapter 3. He says, you say you have all these things, but the truth is, here's your actual status. This is what it looks like. And until we can humble ourselves and say, God, we need you. Like, for me to be the best husband that I could be, or the best father that I could be, or the best leader that I could be, I need God to do that. The only way that I can step into who I truly am and what I'm called to do is through Jesus Christ. And we're seeing this, Paul, this awareness going, we need help. God, we're turning to you. And I believe it's the beginning of something beautiful.
Yeah, it's more than, behavior modification. We need to realize that God actually, it's just so hard to, I think for many of us, how we grew up, viewing God, this big guy in the sky who's always angry at us, right? No. He actually wants a relationship with you and me. He loves spending time with us, and he loves for his creation, his children, to be loving on one another rather than fighting one another, blessing one another. He wants to reside inside of us. Again, what a concept.
Come on.
and God actually living inside of us. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. But that's really what he's after, that relationship. And out of that, it'll change your life. It'll change the world. Turn it upside right. We've got to go there. And how do we get there? Part of me thinks, too, again, we're talking about young people, talking about prayer. Getting off our seats and saying, I can make a difference. I need to take responsibility for this. What I think God is doing now and wants to do more and more is actually a generational revival. He is a generational God. So we have the young people, and I love their energy and, and the fact that they can help me operate my phone, things like that. But you know what? Do we need older people to sit down and walk alongside and disciple, our mentor our young people? Yeah, we can learn from each other. And if we walk hand in hand, man, good things are going to happen, I think.
Come on. And Paul, I 100% agree. And I believe what God's doing is generational. Forever, the Bible says that he'll be known as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Come on.
He is a generational God. And I want to say this is that I believe there's many that are maybe in the older part of their years. I want to say this, you're actually stepping into your most influential years of your life.
Very good.
And there's a generation that is looking for your wisdom. Paul, if I have the time, I'd love to share this story.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have two amazing parents, Paul. I really do. But they came out of brokenness. And I want to share this because I believe for someone here today, the truth is what maybe didn't happen for you is going to happen through you in this season. Paul, my mom is my hero. And I can't tell you how many stories I could just share with you, of course with my dad, but also really with my mom. My mom is, both of my parents are first generation Christians. Oh, wow. But my mom has such a powerful testimony. And Paul, my mom suffered with severe mental illness. Long story short, her grandmother suffered with severe mental illness, and to the point where my grandmother, my mom's mom, was unfit to be able to actually raise her kids. And when my mom was born at 2 weeks old, Paul, she was put into foster care. And at the age of 14, she was told that she wasn't fit to live in everyday society. And she was actually put in a mentally ill hospital, Paul, age 14. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Living, in a life where 14 people that you don't know come up with a car that you've never been in before and are asked to go into this vehicle to be brought to a place where you were told you would spend the rest of your life in.
Wow. Talk about a lack of hope. Wow.
Oh, talk about can you imagine you're 14, you have your whole life ahead of you. And in a moment you're told this is going to be, basically your lot in life. Mm-hmm. And 6 years, Paul, my mom lived in a straitjacket and she could not, like Paul, she would try to cut herself. She would try to kill herself. She lived 6 years completely mentally ill. And every time they would get her out of the straitjacket, she would try to physically harm herself. They tried everything, Paul. If you want to know why I'm so passionate about Jesus,
Yeah.
it's because my mother for 6 years was in a straitjacket in a mentally ill hospital. But at 20 years old, a minister came and told her about Jesus Christ. And she said this to me. She said, Sammy, I lived in a prison of pain in my mind, and I did not know what to do. But when I heard about Jesus, Paul, this is where there is hope. I want to say this, the hope of God today is I've seen this with a woman that not only birthed me, but I lived with her every single day. And she would tell me this story when she was 20 years old in a straitjacket. She heard the message of Jesus. And as she heard about this, the minister said, Shirley, would you like to meet this person, Jesus? And she goes, yes. And my mom couldn't really speak too many words together. She said she could, comprehend in her mind, but from her mind to her mouth, it would get jumbled up and she'd get frustrated. She'd get angry. But all of a sudden, Paul, when she accepted Jesus into her life, literally a 20-second prayer, she said, Sammy, liquid love came on my right side. And I was completely, totally healed of
Wow.
mental illness. And all of a sudden, everything changed, Paul. The nurses came over. They said, there's something different about Shirley Robinson. And she went from a patient. They brought her before the board with the president. They said, Shirley, we don't know what happened to you. She goes, I do. She's like, I met a man named Jesus, and he changed my life. She went from being a patient to being an employee in that place, Paul.
Oh, wow. That's so, you know what, and that's a great actually transition here to, I want to put a plug in for your healing school coming up, right? Okay, so this is a healing school, November 21st, 22nd, is this in Edmonton as well then?
Yes, this is in Leduc. It's
Leduc, okay, just outside Edmonton, yeah.
Family Church, and it's with Pastor Joaquin Evans, and we're doing 2 nights. It's Friday night, Saturday night. We have a school, like an actual healing school basically in the morning and the afternoon of the Saturday. The 2 nights are completely open, and we're encouraging everybody that is in the area, bring people that need a miracle. And just like how God touched my mom, I believe God wants to heal those that have been suffering with afflictions, pain. This was, found in the life of Jesus, where everywhere Jesus went, Acts 10:38, he went about doing good and healing all those oppressed by the devil. And I believe that weekend, we're going to see just a powerful move of God in healing, and it's going to be absolutely awesome.
That's exciting. I mean, Joaquin Evans, if you've never heard of him, again, he did the healing rooms right at Bethel. Now he's in, I think, Austin, Texas. Yep. And he's got some amazing testimonies of just wild healings, right? Yes. This is, if you want to get a cool experience of learning how to pray for the sick and bring people who are sick, they're going to get healed. That's exciting. And the other thing too, you pointed out, so often it seems with mental illness, often it seems hard to get a breakthrough in those areas. Yes. But I know I've watched a lot of Randy Clark, conferences and Bill Johnson and so forth. They've had some, and this is all out of Bethel, right? So this is coming out of these streams. They've had some significant breakthroughs and have seen all kinds of healing when it comes to mental health issues. And Absolutely. If you've got a friend who's struggling with that, bring them.
Absolutely. And I want to say, Paul, just like what God did with my mom, I believe God wants to do this with a generation, and he wants to heal the mind. One of the things I felt like the Lord spoke to me, he said, Sammy, I don't just heal the body. I also want to heal the mind and set captives free. And I think sometimes there are those that struggle, again, just like my mother, where they feel like they're living in a prison of pain in their mind and they don't know what to do. We have seen time and time again wild miracles. Like Paul, I'm talking about people that literally very much the same condition as my mom, completely, totally healed. If I can share this, another testimony we just had recently, we had a lady that had brain cancer a year ago, Paul, that came to our service, and they came and the doctor said, listen, in the natural, practically speaking, there was no more that they could do. And they said, listen, basically they were going to just make her life as comfortable as she could
Yeah.
until she passed. And here's what I want to say. We love, like for ourselves, we love our, I have many doctor friends. I've many people in the medical industry. And here's what I know. It's not that God is anti-medicine, but here's what I do know is that time and time again, we have seen where man can't go any further. This is where the grace of God steps in. And we saw this lady who came to the service, Paul, and she had a tumor in her brain. And as we prayed for her, it was so amazing. She said, Sammy, I don't want to, I'm not trying to hype things. I'm not trying to make things bigger than they are, but I just feel like there's a warmth on the right side of my brain right now. And I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, well, listen, I'm like, just thank the Lord. And I said, go to your doctor and see. And long story short, Paul, within a couple of weeks, they had to organize another scan. And she had another scan because she was going to go in and they were looking at doing surgery, all these things. Long story short, when they did the scan, she was completely, totally healed. And I go, God, like, I believe we're going to see more of that, Paul. I believe we're going to see more miracles in this next season. And part of it is this, is letting people know that there is a God who heals and encouraging people.
God hates sickness and he loves you. I mean, that's good math. I'll tell you what. Real briefly, Samuel, where do you see Canada heading spiritually over the next 5 years?
You know what, Paul? Hear me on this. I to some maybe I'm too optimistic, but I want to say this. I understand how dark certain situations are, but here's what I want to tell you. I am seeing a hunger in the church, and I feel like there is a remnant that's rising. It might not be the biggest group right now, but I can tell you this. I am seeing a level of hunger that I have seen in other nations, Paul, where revival has broken out because of that kind of hunger.
That's encouraging. I'm sorry, because I'm just looking at the clock. I'm running out of time here. Yes. But you know what? Thank you for sharing that. Again, I want to steer people to voiceofrevival.ca, your Rise Up conference, October 23rd to 25th in Edmonton. Please check it out. Young people as well, okay? Chris Valentin, Bill Prankard, Banning Leapshire. It's going to be good. So thank you so much. Blessings to you, Samuel. Thanks for watching WizeUp.ca. God bless.